Hello everyone, and welcome back to Acting 1. This week, what we are going to go over are the given circumstances. Now this is the next step in your acting process of the funneling down from every choice into your specific choices of your character. The given circumstances are the beginning part of that funneling. The given circumstances are the who, what, when, and where of your imaginary world. So I want you to repeat this because in song form, everything sounds better and you'll remember it a little bit better. All these given circumstances make up my imaginary world. All these given circumstances make up my imaginary world. Again, all these given circumstances make up my imaginary world. All these given circumstances make up my imaginary world. Good. What we're going to go over are what each of the given circumstances are and how you use them within your acting process. The first step is who a character is.
Who are you?
Now that is a big question, even though it's just one word, right? Who? Well, if I were to ask you, who are you? How would you describe that? Is that a simple answer? Is that one sentence? Could you describe who you are in one sentence?
I don't think any word can explain a man's life.
Absolutely not. There's a bunch of factors that go into that, right? So who are you? What are some of the questions you should be asking yourself or asking your character? What makes up who you are? Well, one of them is your name. What is your name? How did you get that name? Are you named after somebody? If so, who? Why? Where do you live? Do you have siblings? Do you like your siblings?
What's going on?
Where am I?
Why is it like
How
that?
high is that?
Who is
How much money do you make a year? What is your job? What are your pet peeves? What do you like? What do you not like? Who's your best friend? Why? What do you feel is important? Why?
Why do you think?
How long have you been a horse?
Why are you talking to me?
I want you to think about all of the questions you would need someone to ask you if they were going to play you in a movie or a play. What would they need to ask you? And part of your homework is you're going to have to write this about your own life. So write down what makes you who you are. There's a lot of questions in there. And some of it is important even though it doesn't seem important. What kind of music do you like to listen to? Well, that depends a lot on who you are, right? So the movies you like, the types of food you like, all of those things are part of who you are. And the more specific you are with this section of the given circumstances, well, the more realistic your characters are because the more you are becoming that character. You need to know these things and you need to be able to connect to them because your character, I want you to think of characters as these spiritual entities that kind of circle. Somewhere in the character, that character is the soul of someone who really lived. And you were cast in that role because you're the only person who can give that person a voice, who can give that soul a voice, because that soul still has something to teach all of us.
It's amazing, Molly. The love inside. Take it with you.
So your job is to do your research. What are the questions you would ask that make up who a person is? What race they are, where they came from, who their family is, what school they go to, what their dreams are. All of those questions go into the who category. Next, we're going to go into what. Well, what is typically what are you doing in that room at that time? See, characters don't just appear in a room.
Jackson! It's all right. It's over.
Stay with him. Jackson, just listen. Keep moving.
You never appear in a room and you're like, what am I doing here? That never happens. You were there for a reason, right? Now, you may have forgotten what that reason was, but usually you're like, I need to get my keys. And as you're walking to get your keys, you have another thought that derails you. And then you get into a room and you're like, why am I here? That happens, but you at least entered that room with a purpose. So one of the things you need to do in the what section is figure out, what are you doing in that room? That's a pretty good idea, gives you a pretty good idea of what you need to know, right? And that will be influenced by who you are. That's why you start with who. Now, what also goes into what are your relationships? Now look at everyone in the play. That's every character that you interact with, but also every character that you talk about. See, if I say Dave, but I'm not thinking about Dave or who a Dave is because it's just a name in a script, it's going to come off weird. Oh yeah, well Dave told me. Well, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I want you to think of somebody that you love. Think of their face, picture their face. Now, go to say their name, but instead of saying their name, say Dave. Feels different, right? Now try it with somebody you don't like. Somebody you really can't stand. See their face, see what they've done to you, and now in your head say Dave. It's different, right? See, you need to have a concrete relationship with even people you talk about, because if they're mentioned in the script, they're part of your world, which means you have a relationship with them. If a character in the play is your sibling, does that mean you love them? No.
There's one rule of the house, and you broke it!
You may or may not love them, but you have a complicated relationship with them. They're a human being. So figure out what that relationship is. And all of that is based on the who. Now, every answer you come up with in the given circumstances needs to be rooted in the script. That means you have to read the script and go, yes, I'm making this decision because of this moment in the script. Think of the script as a series of clues and how you're going to derive your character from those clues. All right. Those are all the what. So the who is, who are you and who is everyone else in the play? And answer all those questions. The what is, what are you doing in that room, and what are your relationships with everybody in the play? Good. Now we're going to get to the when. When doesn't seem like it matters, but it really does matter. When is this play taking place? Now, we start from the largest category and go all the way down. So when we say when, like, what timeline is this in? Is this in our timeline? Okay, great. So what century or millennia? Now, what decade? Because every decade is different. They have different fashion trends. You're going to listen to different music based on the decade that you're in. You can't be in the 90s. The play can't be set in the 90s and you're listening to 2000s music. That can't happen. So what you need to do is that research. So not only the decade, but what year?
What year is it?
It was brand new.
No. What year is it?
And years are very different, right? The year, so much can happen in a year. Think of an election year. The year before and the year after are very different. Absolutely. So much can change in 1 year. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. What year? And then research that year. Find out what happened that year. Why? Because that's going to influence who you are, what your relationship is with everyone, and answer a whole lot of questions to give you context of the play. All right. The next thing that you need to look at is what season. See, is this taking place in the summer, in the fall, in the winter? All of those have different ways you enter a room. They change the clothes you wear. And that way you'll be able to be aware of when this is happening. Good. So we went from season. Now what month? Every month is different. You feel different you feel different in every month. And if you were to really sit down and think about it, you would notice just how different you feel every single month. Right? So think about what month this is taking place. You're going to get that clue from the season and then pick a month. Sometimes it'll tell you, sometimes it won't, but you need to make sure that you and every other cast member are living in the same month. You all need to be in the same when, in the same where, with the same who's. Does that make sense? Good. So now that you've figured out what month, now you're going to pick what day. Or we can also go week, because depending on the week, you're way different right after payday than at the end of the month. Right? So try to figure out when that is. Now, what day of the week? You're different on a Monday, because we're all different on a Monday when we got to go to work, as opposed to a Friday, as opposed to a Saturday. You're a different person. So what day is this taking place? And then start looking at what hour is it taking place. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but if this class was taking place at 10 a.m., right? And we changed it to 10 p.m., you would act different, right? Exactly. So think about all of those things. Now, when we get to minute and second, that's only if like there's a countdown clock that you need to be aware of. But other than that, you need to know those things. Perfect. The next is the where. The where tells us what world we're living in. Now you have to remember too that the where is always a different universe than the one we are in, because it's a story. It's made up, so it can be similar to our universe, but it's a different universe. And now within that universe, you get to go and narrow your way down. Is it in what solar system? Because sometimes it's a sci-fi play and you're not in this solar system. And now what planet? And now what hemisphere? And now what continent? What country? You're going to keep narrowing it all the way down, because where you live and where something takes place changes your personality. If you don't believe me, do an impression of a New Yorker.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Now do an impression of a Texan.
I like a shot of whiskey, and so would my companion. It ain't too much trouble.
Now do an impression of a Californian.
Excellent!
All of those are different people, right? And that's in this country alone. Now imagine if you're dealing with people or talking with people in a play from different countries. You need to know about that culture. You need to know about those customs so you can be authentic, so you can actually become another person and give that spirit and that soul a true voice. That's on you. You're the only one who can do that. All right, now sometimes the where will tell you about the who. I'll give you an example, and that's Harry Potter. Harry Potter takes place in a universe, solar system, planet, just like ours. Takes place in England. Takes place in a city, in a suburban area outside of London, and it's just like every other home. But inside that home, where does Harry live? In the cupboard under the stairs. They have a second bedroom. They have a bedroom for him, but Dudley has a second bedroom. Where does Harry live? In the cupboard underneath the stairs. What do you put in the cupboard underneath the stairs? Clutter in your life that you don't want guests to see. That tells you so much about Harry and his relationship with everyone, right? So, I want you to think about that. The where, the when, all define who the who is. And you need to know that so you can make your character as realistic as possible. So now we're going to get to your assignment. Your assignment is to sit down and write the given circumstances of your life. Who are you? What are you? What are your relationships with people? What's the when and the where of you? And then I want you to be as detailed as possible, as though someone was going to play you, and you want to make sure that you're represented in the correct way. Good. Start there, and then we'll move on to our next exercise. All right, everyone. I'll see you soon.